If you prefer to have a narrow focus that goes really, really deep in a particular company, private opportunity like that is fantastic.
Let's welcome our guest today.
My name is Erin Roche. I am a CPA in Santa Rosa, California.
What made you decide to start your own practice after working at a small CPA firm for 9 years?
When I decided to leave the first firm that I worked for, I had a lot of things going on in my personal life, and it definitely it was a journey. I needed to work out for myself exactly what I wanted my career to look like and what that balance was going to be between. 'Cause by then, I had two young children. We were working on buying houses and things like that. There was a lot going on at home, and I really felt in the moment that I wanted a different balance between my work life and my home life. And I felt that going out and looking for a different opportunity, starting something on my own gave me more control over exactly what I wanted to commit to. I loved the firm that I worked for when I was in college, and it was really sad to leave there actually. But it didn't feel like it was fair to ask my old boss to like flex so hard. Like what that company needed was someone who was able to make a bigger commitment than what I was able to provide at the time. So I decided that I actually went and was a controller for a local firm, not a local firm, excuse me, a local business for about a year and a half. And that worked out great because what they needed from me was very limited. I was basically there during school hours. So I dropped my kids off in the morning. They were right down the street from my kids' school. I worked. When it was time to go pick them up from school, I went, picked them up from school, and I went home. So for about a year that worked. And then I realized that that whole thing that I was talking about before about variety and having more than one client, I really missed it. So I kind of slowly phased out of the controller role and into my own firm. I did kind of both part-time. And I really definitely love public accounting, and it was calling me. So I needed to go back. So it was kind of in that moment. I knew I was ready when I felt confident that I was giving advice that was helping my clients. And I have always been really intentional about, okay, well, what area do I want to be advising in where I feel, really grounded and centered in the advice that I'm providing. So I didn't jump right into, publicly reporting businesses and doing tax returns for them. I started out with very, small micro businesses and helping those folks understand their finances and what it means to do tax reporting. And then have slowly grown, as my skills have grown in the profession, I've slowly taken on clients that have a little bit more complexity and need a little bit more detailed planning and different areas of taxation. I got into trusts several years after I started my own firm. And it's things that you add on slowly. And that's the great thing about public accounting. You don't have to do everything. You can pick what is important and comfortable for you. And then if that changes over time, there's no rule that says that you can't adjust and add things in or get rid of things if you decide that you absolutely hate doing them. And I think that that's been a great process for me, going through all of that and over time making those adjustments and tweaking my career to be what it needs to be in that moment.
What is private accounting like?
So I think the private experience that I had being a controller for a local company, I enjoyed that process because I had a huge impact on how they were developing their internal systems and what their tracking process was and how they were how the information flowed from one department to the next. And I really enjoyed that process while we were building that out, implementing, looking at new softwares to make that as efficient as possible. And helping that company grow was, like I said, it was a really rewarding experience. And in the moment, that was the time commitment that I had for it. I eventually transitioned that client out. They brought in a full-time controller after I had already been working in my own private practice because we got to a point where their business had grown enough. We had helped them get to the point where they really could use a full-time person again, a full at least 40 hours a week. And I just didn't have that much time to give to them. So they brought in a controller again. And I would say that I enjoyed the experience, and I think that there's an opportunity there depending on what your passions are. If you prefer to have a narrow focus that goes really, really deep in a particular company, I think a private opportunity like that is fantastic because you get to know everything about that business being involved in the accounting function. I do, like I said before, I really like variety. So the public side for me, where I get a really wide breadth of experience, but perhaps not as deep in my knowledge of any one particular client, just works for me and who I am as a professional.